Happy Thursday. I've been busy as a beaver, as they say. Um, see, I did some work. I started as a Word document for text because I think, at least for the moment, I'm done with the graphical portion of the adventure. If you're following along yesterday, I'd already done the below. I can zoom in here. I already done this area pretty much here, and I drew, or actually, I'd done some of this and I was kind of unsure what exactly I wanted to do with the fort. Kind of went through it, did some studying of the moat house from Hamlet. This funky structure here is some stables. I don't know if I'm gonna end up switching out this. I'm not sure. I'm unsure what to do with this kind of thing. It sort of fits in kind of what I want. Maybe there's a better way to display it, but this is a very abstract style map, basically. And then today I went ahead and didn't do it on stream just because I was listening to other things and just trying to get stuff done. Did the second level. I threw in some crenellations. I put the stairs in, and then I also decided to put a second level. We were talking about it, whether or not to put a second level on the kind of main building. And I decided to. So yesterday we just had stairs here that go down. I added these stairs going up, and then I added in what would be, basically the living quarters for this particular these cultists, and then created an area here where I guess the head honcho would be, and then this area, which I think is going to be kind of another little cell, which is where I said that there'd be somebody, yelling, "Help! Help! Save me! Please save me!" kind of thing. So just to reset things a little bit, the party is going to start off here, and the idea behind this is basically a starter adventure, either as kind of a one shot or maybe to start off some sort of campaign. And I'm doing, and again, this is not my innovation, kind of a reverse, if you want to call it a reverse dungeon crawl. Party starting in the dungeon and then escaping from it. I don't know. I'm not sure. I guess I could say that there's a little bit of me positioning things as teaching. I'm not trying to be kind of Tomb of the Serpent King or something like that, where I'm trying to teach. Everything is going to have a lesson that pertains to the game. I'm not trying to do that. But maybe what I'd say I am trying to do in some small way is maybe introduce things that might be either you might be happening or things you might want to do, or just interesting choices, and in kind of, I don't want to say necessarily super beginner friendly ways, because still, you could die, there are things out to get you, and your choice can have consequences, all that stuff. But in, I guess, maybe limited scope. This isn't a mega. I'm not starting them at the bottom of Undermount. This isn't a mega dungeon. This is the dungeon element of this is, whoops, pretty darn small. These are 5-foot squares. So, you're not looking at super giant rooms. They're going to wake up here and they're going to have the ability to, obviously explore this area. They can come down these stairs and explore this area, or they can come up, explore here. And then as soon as they pop out of here, they're going to be in this area, which I don't even know if I'm going to put anything in here. I mean, it's all abstract anyway, but just, whatever. There's no props, map level props here. I did put them here though. And then they'll be able to decide whether they just want to bust out, try to get out of the fort somehow, or do they want to, once they get in here, come up and see what's going on here, and they'll potentially hear the screaming, uh, that kind of thing, right? And then once they get out of here, something else I did. There's a kind of a hex crawling portion. This is where they're starting, and this would be kind of escape. And not too many features here, so I'll go through the kind of hex crawl portion of the program. That's the other thing. It's like I want to try to give a little bit of a hex crawl, not a super big. Obviously it's not a big hex crawl. These would be 3 mile hexes, so pretty darn small, but get a feel for it. And then have some dungeons. So you get a little bit of dungeon, a little bit of hex crawl. Hopefully you arrive at the village, and then you're done, right? On to, or either that's kind of, now you can begin whatever else you're doing or continue on or whatever. So that's kind of the idea, right? You escape from the dungeon, get out of the fort, which is here, try to make your way hopefully to here, But there are other ways to do that. There are multiple ways. The main way would be to follow. There's going to be a trail of some sort. I think that's fine. Go follow a trail of some sort. I put this ridge line here because I want to at least just sort of, and it's basically following more or less. Except for this one's kind of cutting the middle, more or less following the basically your hex borders. But the ridge line is. I was thinking about you think about what are the interesting kind of choices you have in a hex crawl. A real hex crawl. It's not a point crawl. So this is a hex crawl. So you're gonna have choices. So if they come out of the fort, they're gonna have a chance to follow the trail. They're gonna have a chance to potentially, and I don't know if there's some way to encourage them. This is something I have to think about. Maybe towards the end, I'll think about it. Is there a way to encourage them that hey, you want to go south? South is the way you want to go. Maybe I could change some of this to hills or mountains, something else kind of imposing that makes you think, we don't really want to go, don't want to go up that way. There are a lot of ways to go south. Obviously, hey, red caps. Obviously, you could try to scramble down this as kind of escarpment, whatever kind of ridge. And I haven't determined if it's like cliffs or if it's just steep, whatever it is. You could try to kind of scramble down here, scramble. Red caps. I'm using. It's called Affinity Designer. It is not a. So Red caps asked, "What software am I using?" And this someone else asked me in a comment yesterday. Also, I'm not using a particular. I'm using one. Okay, I'm using Affinity Designer. Affinity Designer. It's a competitor to basically Illustrator. If you're familiar with Adobe Illustrator, it's got some. That's a little bit different. It has a little bit of some things kind of Photoshoppy, but it's mostly, at least the way I use it, because you can mix rasterized stuff and vector, but I'm using it here as all vector stuff. So this is just a straight up kind of vector graphic editor. And I just drew simple shapes and threw them on here. Yes, it is right. Red caps pointing out, like I think the first thing that everybody points out at Affinity, it's hey, it's software that you actually own. Yes, it is yours. You buy it, it's yours. It's not subscription. It is on, and it's on your device, and it's yours, and it can do a lot of stuff. And I mentioned in yesterday's stream how I was going back and forth on what, because I wanted to kind of mock this up. Really, I was talking more about this part of it, but really, like how can I mock this? How can I mock these things up? Actually, originally I was had to do that, and started looking at options, and because ultimately this is something that I want to publish in some way, put out there in the world. Once you add that into it, it would be different if I was just doing this for my own. I'm doing this for my home game, and it's just gonna be for me. Right? That then I could use anything, and right, it's mine, it's private. But knowing that I'm intend to do public things with it, then that has to enter into my this thought process over which software to run, to buy, or to use for free, whatever. And that's where you kind of run into things. And Dungeon Scrawl, I think it's called. It was one that was suggested to me a couple times, and it looks good. Roll matters, but you need to. You have to go from. There's a free tier, which again, if I was doing this just for my home game, I might have just used that free tier of Dungeon Scrawl and gone with it. But if you're going to publish it, you need to be a subscriber to the pro tier. And I don't know how the subscription works vis-a-vis your license. However, the licensing works. I don't know if you're a pro tier for a month and you do something and publish it and then you unsubscribe. I don't know how that works. And there's also with Dungeon Scrawl, on the one hand, it's really cool. I guess they have a marketplace, something where you could put third-party assets in there, assets that obviously you haven't done, and they're not native assets. But then if you add third-party assets, then you also have to keep in mind what their licensing is if you publish it. So it's a little bit complicated. I'm not looking for any more subscriptions. I'm kind of just off of the subscription, not prescription, the subscription model a bit. Everything doesn't need to be a subscription. Hey, Ian, it is Adventure Time in a way. So I just went through, I was looking, I just found some images. I can never remember. So I always look up images for what, either I could pull out old maps or I can find images of old maps for just the basic iconography. And they're all really simple. So even though I'm not a whiz at the graphic stuff, not that hard to put a shaded circle inside an outline circle and call it a well, right? Easy stuff. And so I just started throwing them together and throwing on the map. And then today I did this part. Well, today I did this. Yesterday afternoon, evening, I started this and then I finished it today. So I decided to add that second. I added the second level. I put some arrow slits in there. Around this, I don't know if I'm going to fix it or leave it. This one's kind of funky. I may need to redo it. It's just bothering me looking at it. Doing it around the curve adds some other difficulty that I did not get on that attempt. I might redo it. And I add, this is a table, a chair, and a chest. It's hard to see the chest one. I might need to beef up a little bit. It looks better when you zoom in, but I think I might need to beef up these lines a little bit so they look a little bit better. So I had that stuff in there. And then I just did this. So my thinking on the hex crawl part, because I was thinking about this morning as I was putting this together. Here's where you're starting. This is the fort. I might change it. There's a ruin. This is a fort symbol. There's also a ruin symbol. I don't know if I'll change it for the ruin symbol. I haven't decided if it's really that important. This is a castle. This would be the kind of local lord. Here's a village, a couple of layers, a little swampy area, river flowing this way. I hope that this arrow works as kind of a presentation of, hey, which way is the river flowing? It's flowing down that way. Maybe I'll put another arrow at the front. North is up. Pretty standard stuff. I might put some hill. Maybe I'll put in a hill somewhere just to show. I'm using kind of the ridge to show where we have sort of a major semi-permanent. There's kind of in a sense, a hard line, right? You're at the top of this thing, and then it slopes down steeply into this valley part. And that's why I have the ridge there. I wanted to really represent that. And one of the reasons why I thought it was important to represent is that, like I was saying, there's the part of what I want to give players to do is, a meaningful choice. If it's just, hey, follow the trail all the way home, right? Oh yeah, we'll follow the trail. We'll go la all the way home. Great. I mean, there are going to be some difficulties because there's going to be cultists down here. There might be, whatever. There's going to be, that's not necessarily the way you want to go. It's also, if anybody is out, maybe there's some pressure, somebody's chasing you, they're going to follow the trail too. So there are reasons to potentially get off the trail. And it is a little bit, I don't know, it's actually probably as a, hex wise, it's not actually much further. Maybe it is in terms of if I were to write in, which I might at some point write in, like, hey, if you follow the trail all the way down, how long is it? It might be, it's more windy. So you might think, we'll just go down the escarpment, right? And but I want that to be kind of a meaningful choice. And part of making it a meaningful choice to me is that there is a downside to just going straight. I mean, there's a couple downsides. One is just getting lost. Two is the fact that this could be a little bit dangerous. It could be steep, rocky, you could fall, hurt yourself. It's not easy. Also, there's no way back up. There's no, once, if you kind of come, not there's no way back up, but going back up is going to be even more difficult than however it is to get down. And then, and then on the other side, you do have the swamp with a layer here. So yeah, if you kind of slide down into here, this is a river. If you didn't notice, that's bisecting it. You slide down, now you're in this kind of swampy, marshy area. Something's living here, and you got to cross all that to get here. Or it might work too. You might want to come try to get out here, follow the river. And there's going to be a fording point here. I was going to make kind of a light. I was going to put a little lighter part here. I don't know if I really need to, but you could ford the river. It's not a bridge, but you can sort of fording thing. Oh, wait, I missed something. Warrior King says it will have orcs because I just painted a bunch. Orcs, always good. Redcap says bullywugs need to live in that swamp. Absolutely. Yeah, I haven't figured out what creatures anywhere yet. There's going to be something here. I thought about putting something here too, but then I thought, I don't know, if the party gotten way over this way, because, I'm thinking at least in terms, I mean, if this is a campaign, then hey, they go that way, they go. Add that to whatever your world map, wherever your world map is sold, wherever you have forest, you can add that in. But I think maybe if I was going to run this in a con game, And I might run this at something like Claricon. Might actually run this there. Since I did sign on to run a game at Claricon. So if you're at Claricon, I will be running a game at Claricon. And I've committed to it, so I guess that means I have to do it. Maybe I'll run this. I don't know. We'll see. It'll probably change a million times between now and then. So I want to give choices. I don't want to just be kind of choose which way. Obviously, if you go this way, you're going away from where you want to go, and there's going to be at least something here not good. The trail is going to be where the cultists are going to be moving to and fro. So maybe not great, but maybe this is the player choice part. Do you it's kind of pick your poison. Maybe you feel comfortable with the known sort of you feel comfortable with the known enemy of whatever the cultists are because you already will have experienced them a bit up here. So maybe you feel okay with them, or you can try to go this way. Just might be more difficult. I hope, and this is where these things you just can't. There's no way for me to intend. Like the party's going to wake up with nothing. So the information they're going to have, or lack thereof, is going to come from them digging around. What do they find? I might then I was going to have these be empty, but I might put a body in there just because if you have a body, they could search the body. Maybe there could be something on the body that give a clue. There's going to be a cultist body in this well. I could probably just put some notes here. I'm just doing this very rough. Oh, what do they call this? Below the ruins. Below the ruins. Let's see, level heading 2. Level 2, the Don John. And then inside there, 3. So I'm just gonna write some stuff in here. The well. I know where the well is. I'll obviously we'll have to do all the numbering bit. I'll do that at the end. But I know that this is the well, and I know that there's gonna be. I don't know. Can I use a star instead? There we go. Body half sunken in the silted up well. Treat as quicksand, I guess. Matters. On a 1d4 giant centipedes feeding on corpse. There we go. So I don't know if we can, so I guess I should say body of cultist. I think you could think about, well, what would be the who would that be? This cultist? Maybe this cultist would be somebody. Hey, Mikey. Maybe this cultist would be somebody who would have some information on them, right? That this was somebody. You can imagine some chain event. So just to again kind of reset the party. This is sort of like you wake up and you're on a table. How did you get here? You don't know. Or even I think I suggested you can even kind of play that out. Hey, tell me how you got here. What were you doing before everything went kind of black on you? So you don't know what you're doing there for, and you don't know what's happened, and whatever was going to happen has somehow been thwarted, interrupted. You're not going to know, but you're going to hear sort of screams and kind of chaos at a distance, not immediately around you, and you're going to be here. It is. I can imagine that there's a sequence of events where something like somebody, the you're here with maybe one of the supervisor cultists, if you will. I get attacked by undead, maybe get driven back. Something happens here. Maybe they're able to get the door closed, maybe not. Maybe the door is slightly ajar. They get pushed. Something happens. They fall into the well. Undead guy can't get down the well. Is not coordinated enough to get down the well. Whatever, ends up just backtracking. I think his positioning in my idea is that there'll be a guy on the stairs, kind kind of hanging out. Just because it's undead. It doesn't know what to do. It has no. It's not the way in my mind anyway. Is that these things maybe that the ritual, whatever it was supposed to do, is supposed to put undead under someone's control, but it's not. So the undead are these just kind of mindless undead. They give no orders. They have no greater power that's guiding them. So at some point, they're just going to kind of stop moving since they have nowhere to do, and they're just going to stand there and wait. And maybe the guy kind of shuffled back here for whatever reason, and then just kind of got stuck. And because everyone here was basically playing dead in a sense, it didn't bother. It's like it's not that sophisticated. So it's like and just stays here. This guy ends up falling in the well. Maybe the giant centipedes were already in the well. Maybe bonked his head, died, whatever the thing, he's dying, whatever. If it is a captain, then maybe we could say that there's some kind of, I don't know, a sealed, I don't know, what do they put messages in? I don't know, message in inner pocket of tunic? I don't know. I'm not sure what they're wearing yet. I don't know what they're wearing yet. Let's just bold some things just to have. Right. So the initial thing will be, okay, the party wakes up. What should I call that area? The I guess that's like a staging room, maybe the preparation H. What would I call it? I don't know. I'll just call it the staging area for right now. Player characters awake, lying on rough-hewn tables, dressed in simple robes. Redcap says satchel with a note. Yeah, I'm not a big healing potion fan, Redcaps. I feel you. I feel like the satchel is too much of a setup. Like, not that there won't be information. Like, I'm always someone that's like, why is the guy with the satchel? He didn't, I don't know if I'm going to give him a satchel and that kind of thing. I can't. It doesn't. I can't. I don't know if it would make sense to me why the guy would be carrying a satchel down there, unless he's a messenger cultist looking for somebody else, and then that happens. So it could be. I don't know. And I'm not a healing potion purchase, so I don't tend to put them in. That's just my own thing. That's my own foible, maybe. This is just some basically Arnold Palmer spinner for the working man. Those are possibilities. The nice thing, in defense of the satchel, that is what is good about it, especially for newer folks, is it's kind of a physical cue, right? You see some guy and his legs are sticking out, or his, whatever, he's half sticking out of this thing. You might not think, well, let the guy go. But if there's a satchel or a bag or a pack or something like that, then that's something that a player, especially a new player, is going to go, oh, there might be something useful in the satchel. Like, oh, that guy's not going to have anything on it, but the satchel. So it is a good point. I'll take it under advisement. I'm going to leave it like this right now. But I don't think there'll be a healing potion. This is healing potion is just something in my I just don't. I don't know. Something about them I just don't. I don't love. But I do want, and I'm gonna have multiple, right? I'm gonna follow, the multiple. There won't be just one clue, and I don't even really know what the message needs to have on it. It doesn't really have the same thing. The only thing maybe I want it to mention, what I really want is the only important thing that I need them to know. So you want to think about, okay, so from a meta perspective, right, in this adventure, or really any adventure, what are we trying? What do we want the people to know? Like, what do we want players to absolutely know? What do we want them to know? What I want them to know, hey, here's some homebrew. What I want them to know that I need them to know, or I'd love them to know, is that the town is essentially southwest. Something like of that nature. That there is a town that's near. I guess what I need to know is there's a town nearby. And maybe give a little bit. I'm not going to give them what might be interesting. I need to make a note. I'm going to make a note. Map fragment to some sort of buried cache. I like that. I like that. So what I was thinking about is, I don't want to just give people the hex map. I just don't want to give them a map with hexes on it. That's not how I play, though. If that's how you play, that's fine. But map fragments, and this would of course necessitates that I draw out. I'll have to draw a map fragment that shows something about the river, and basically I can almost just trace over this, but just do things a little bit differently. It can be rougher. Things don't have to always be in the right place. Obviously, these layers aren't going to be here. Whatever, just be some kind of notation. But I could put maybe in one of these things, maybe here, there's going to be a little X marks the spot. Or maybe this is it right here, depending on what I like, is that they buried some stuff there. Because one of the things that I recognize, this is not the adventure at the moment where you're going to grab a bunch of loot. It's short. It's only one session. In terms of an actual dungeon, it's not exactly that big. So, you're not, I'm not even sure, how generous to be in something that has so few areas. I mean, this whole dungeon area is basically one area. If we call the stairs an area, I suppose we're being generous on areas 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I guess 8 if we call these stairs another area, 9 if we call these stairs another area, really. It's really small. And then once you get on, and now that's just down there, okay, call this outside here 10, call that 11, and then for giggles 12, 13, and then if they get up here 14. So that's 14 total rooms in this whole place. This is not big. I haven't thought about, I probably should, some kind of secrets. Everybody's got secrets. And then I haven't cased it up yet. I haven't really, there's no unconventional ways to get from place to place. So I might do something with that. Haven't decided what that would be. I think I like the idea that there was a tunnel or something connecting a secret door, maybe that connects that to the stables. So I might add that in. Because I think, roughly speaking, no, it'll come out like somewhere here. Or here, I guess. There'll be some kind of trap door. So I might add that in there. So that there's going to be some tweaks to this still. But in terms of how I can get them some information about their environment while giving them a little bit of something extra, and not just like, here's the dump of where you are, but that there's that I think is kind of worth doing, and maybe even have it speak to some operative or something in town, which would be sort of like, here's the next. If you wanted to play it out, you could just play it as kind of an epilogue. You go to the Lord, and they what's the word I'm looking for? They reveal, or they expose the cultist in their midst, which could be a nice epilogue, or that could be the beginning of the further adventures of whoever these people are. Heroes and Homebrew mentions that maps given to players shouldn't be 100% accurate. I agree with that. I agree. I mean, I tend to, the maps that I've given in the past are, not to scale. I just make sure that I'm telling the party, like, not only is it not accurate, but I'm telling you up front, do not expect accuracy from the maps. They might be wrong. They're not to scale. It's very basic. Kev says, if they're waking up in the operating table with simple clothes, is there a gear cache for them near, or their possessions from character chat? No, there's not going to be that. So my suggestion would be, which I will write down here. I suppose I should I can put a thing here. Let's see. So just, I don't want to call it instructions. Starting out, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I don't want to do that. No starting gear. Ugh. No starting gear. Skip gear selection during character, not development, but I'll take it. Generation. Well, I think so. Here's a homebrew. Yes, sketchbook. I see that what I want to avoid, because I don't particularly like it. I don't like it as a GM, and I don't really like it as a player. Is the stuff that seems just too obvious. It's what I'm trying to avoid is the kind of overtly kind of, I don't know, what I would call kind of video gamey, sort of overtly gamey things here, which is why I don't like we're going through this scenario and I don't just have like, look, your packs happen to be stacked neatly nearby. I just don't like it. I don't like it. It just seems kind of cheesy to me. Like, you know, there are going to be ways to get gear, and that part of that to me is actually what I think is going to be interesting, or what I hope will be interesting in playing through the scenario, is figuring out how to get geared up. Like, what kind of gear can we get? What can we do? We're in this room, we're in this table, on these tables. We don't hear anything right around us, but we're clearly, in a sense, trapped where we're in this area and we can't leave directly through here. I presume there's no light, or there's going to be torches on the walls, but no windows. I presume that the idea that, hey, we're underground is probably not going to be one that will take much guesswork. They're going to know they can go up, they're going to know they can go down. And, what can we do? What can we get out of here? And that's part of what this body here is the body, other than the message, but it also is going to have gear. Like, this is a way to get some gear, but you got to figure out how to get it out. How do you get it out? How can you get it without the centipedes crawling out with it? Or do you just try to break some things out? Or, like whatever, like they'll, it's not going to be completely empty, but it's going to be a little bit of like figuring it out. Or there's going to be here, this storeroom's going to have supplies in it, but there's also more things going on. Do you go up here, deal with these things, open up barrels, find stacks of stuff, and then come back to, like, there's all kinds of ways you can do it, but that's kind of part of the puzzle of the space. The puzzle of the space is not really navigational, right? If we look at, like, what are the challenges? Like, when in this space, if you're the players in this space, what are your challenges? It's not navigation. The navigation is dead easy. This just isn't a space built to get you lost. There's no real traps. I mean, this one down here, it's marked as a trap, but it's going to be extremely obvious. It's just that it has, basically, it's a pit with a ghoul down there and a body which will have gear on it, and then they've got, two big like basically wooden doors that are keeping it shut, and then you can pull on chains and open it up if you want to go check out the ghoul. So it's not something where you really even step on and fall through. So a lot of what I'm presenting here, the challenges are, what risks do you take for whatever kind of rewards that you want? Hey, there's a body. Yeah, maybe I'll put it in a satchel, and the satchel's down there. He's going to have a sword belted on him. Maybe he'll have some other kind of thing. Do you fish it out? Do you try to fish that stuff out, or don't you? And if you do try to fish it out, then what do? Do you just try to lasso it, with some rope? Where do you get the rope from? Like, what do you do? You got these tables you can work with. There'll maybe be some chains on the walls here. Can you get some of the chains off the walls? What are all these things that you're going to do? That's kind of the puzzly part for me. That's that part of that challenge. Then they can. Redcap says, if that's the case, then likely want to make sure that they can find enough gold in here to buy gear when they get to town. Yeah, I mean, well, the idea would be that, like I said, you can gear up while you're down here. It's just not in discrete packs. It's not that you're running out here with only the clothes on your back, but that you'll be scavenging stuff. There are bodies here. The bodies will have stuff on them. You need to get the stuff off the bodies. You need to get to the bodies and then get the stuff off of them. In some cases, I think I was going to say, for this undead guy floating around here, is like, he's going to have stuff on him. He's undead, so he's not going to be using it. So he's just going to come at you like a zombie, but you can get some gear off him. There's going to be stuff in the storeroom. There's other undead folks. So there's going to be opportunities to get things. It's just not presented like, here's the pack, you know. And it's a little bit what I don't like about the satchel, though. I think it's a very good point what you're saying about new players, but just part of me like that video game thing where you see the satchel and it almost had they'll have that effect in a video game where you come in and it's almost like regardless of what the material is, it shines or has this glow, like, ooh, pick this thing up. I'm not trying to be that bold, but I also understand that, especially for new players, you really can't be too bold. So, it's I'm trying to walk I always call it a fine line. I'm trying to walk a path. Here's a Homer mentioned statues holding spears, coats of arms on the walls. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. That's probably not going to be here. These are like basement areas. There's not going to be a statue. These are columns. But like I said, this is a storeroom. It's not, there are, barrels will have stuff, provisions, but there'll be piles of things in here. There is stuff in this area, but there's also things in here that you probably don't want to meet, undead basically also. This isn't where you're going to find coats of arms and things. Now, that being said, I haven't really detailed this area. This might be, which might have been kind of in other days, maybe a meeting point. There might be something ceremonial there, but remember, this is kind of a ruin. And then we get in these up here will be where there'll be at least lots of little incremental treasures. Everyone's hiding stuff under their beds. And here there's a chest and a drawer. And this is where the chief cultist was. Hey, Andrea, how are you? So there is stuff. There is stuff. The challenge for the players is going to be making those decisions over what stuff to go after and what they're going to do. So there's stuff. There's stuff, but they have they have choices to make, which I like. Can't speak for can't speak for anybody else who might play this, but I appreciate that that's kind of what's going on, and hopefully as a player, if you're setting this up correctly, it's going to I would cover that up, right? Okay, hey, we're making characters. Should we buy all our equipment? No, no gold, no equipment. Why? You'll understand, right? But you're kind of starting from zero, absolute zero. So hopefully that will also cue your party into it. And I would, it will become clear obviously as soon as the game starts, but I would be fine with being like, hey, you're going to start with, nothing, and you're going to have to find stuff to kind of begin with. Okay. All right. This is your classic prison escape, or, slavery escape, or in this case, a little bit of both. Experimental subject escape. So that's kind of the scenario. But there's going to be ways to get stuff. I'm not trying to. This is not the you got to get out and you're gonna have nothing. And the other thing that I like is in terms of, well, they're not starting out with any gold, which means they're not going to have any gold when they get out. But having the map and a couple of key caches that might have some stuff. There's definitely going to be some valuables in that chest. There'll be some stuff in that chest. There'll be a few things squirreled away. Maybe there'll even be something hidden, that's in something else outside of here. There'll be some things, maybe even the stables, some hay or something. Maybe somebody threw something in the hay. There'll be some things. But the key is going to be the party's going to just scrounge and find, and just make those choices over what I want. What do I want to? What do I want to risk getting? There is a risk from I suppose from the player standpoint and from my standpoint, that what if they don't take those challenges? They decide not to get the map. Even if it's a satchel and even if it's glowing, they see it in the bottom of that well and they see the body kind of wriggling around unnaturally and they say, nope, peace out. It's just kind of part of it. But I definitely want to. That's something where you could have a map could be on the wall. Like maybe there's a map, an old tapestry of a map on this wall. I'm going to add that in because I like it. Oops. Oh. Above ground. All right. Let's see. Whoops. This would be the stop at. There we go. Oops, I keep doing that. There we go. Tapestry on the wall shows a the local area, including the ridge, river, and settlement to the south of the keep. Bam, bam. All right. And this is obviously not how I'm going to intend to format this in the end. I'm not sure how I'm going to format these in the end, but we get that. So, oh, so that's good. Now, of course, this tapestry not going to have no hidden cache. So the advantage of getting out of the well, is twofold. One, you get to take the map with you, as opposed to maybe seeing it and then being given a description of it, but then not getting to take it with you. Which I'm the kind of jerk that's what I would do. Is not allow the players to just hand them an image of a tapestry, kind of a tapestry map, but actually describe it. Because unless they're going to roll it up and take them with them, which I suppose they could, would be bulky because it's kind of big and threadbare, so it might kind of come apart a bit. But they're not going to take it with them unless they've maybe gone up here and gotten ink and stuff, which there would be, and then kind of jotted it down. They're going to have to kind of get it from memory. But that's another kind of sort of a second, almost bigger clue because they they don't have to go. I'm going to I better put this in here now. Well, I'll have to do it later because I don't want to open too many things. I don't know. Should I do it? Range, float all, studio, show right studio, show left studio. I don't even know what that is. Oh, I'll do it. I'll do it later. Actually, I gotta figure. I wonder if there's something clever. Maybe I could put something here. Someone mentioned a shed. Maybe I need to put a shed here. That way, the well can come out over the shed or something. Or maybe it doesn't need. I don't know. I gotta figure out where that's. Maybe the well's not the best place for it. I gotta figure it out. I'll figure it out. But I do. I'll make a note because I do want to have somewhere. We need to put some kind of, or maybe I'll just put to do, add secret tunnel from somewhere in the donjon to a location in the fort. Oh yeah, I said keep here. I should keep it consistent and say fort. Okay. Okay. So in the well, with the candlestick, cultist captain, Colonel Mustard, with the candlestick, in the well. And we have the cells. And these are not in order, so they're going to start in the staging area. So that makes sense as being the first. I'm kind of curious. I wonder who would. Which way would you think you'd tend to go first? Would you think you'd tend to go for the stairs? I'm just wondering from a numbering purposes. The stairs or the cells? I guess I'll go the cells here and then the stairs. Well, I guess there's the stairs up and the stairs down. To the to the storeroom. Oops. To the oubliettes. Okay. Spiral stairs. Ascending into darkness. The oubliettes are unlit. Are not lit. Easy to the storeroom. Spiral stairs leading up to the storeroom. Let's see. Yep. Would it be a zombie cultist or a cultist zombie? I'm gonna call it a cultist zombie stands here perfectly still, waiting for waiting for what is it where you like not waiting for inspiration, not inspiration, not the right what word am I looking for? It's like where you're like prodding something with oh, I can't remember. It'll come to me. It will come. Just I guess I'll just put for a moment. Waiting. Um, it will lunge at the first creature that enters the stairs. Something like that. Oh, stimulus. I don't know if I need to put waiting for a stimulus, but I'll put in there. Stimulus. Yeah, I didn't quite. Yeah, here's what I said. Motivation. Well, it's an undead, I suppose. Kind of feel like at that point we're getting kind of behind the, I can see the actor playing there. But what is my motivation for being a zombie? What is my story? No motivation. You're a zombie, but it is waiting for something just to stimulate its whatever negative energy driven nerves. But yeah, motivation would have been good. Definitely waiting for brains. It is absolutely waiting for brains. The sequel to Waiting for Guffman, it's Waiting for Brains. Uh, and I said it will lung. It will lunge. It might lung as well. Robes. I'm wondering if I should put a corpse or an undead that's kind of sitting like it got chewed on. I'm kind of going with a 28 days, or I'm going with an infectious undead. Is that by default? Is BX or zombies by default infectious? Is it someone kills you, you become an undead? I don't even remember. So you know what? I'm going to look it up. I mean, if not, that's probably what I'm going to do. Because then you can have some fun with just every time you see a one of these undead, you're going to want to try to make sure it's not going to come back out at you. But what do they actually say, if they say anything? Okay, so we've got zombies. Zombies are undead humans or demi-humans animated by some evil cleric or magic user. So in this case, I suppose that was technically what happened. As all undead, they may be turned by a cleric, but are not affected by sleep or charm spells or any form of mind reading. They are often placed to guard treasures since they make no noise until they attack. Zombies will always attack on sight, but can be destroyed by normal weapons. They are slow fighters and always strike last. No initiative roll needed. So no, they're not technically. These are not. These are not infectious. So these will be Just something in the ritual. Something in the ritual did it. Now, I was going to check. So there won't be any skeletons here because that doesn't make sense. I might have some. Well, there's definitely going to be at least one ghoul. But someone mentioned putting the magic, because I was saying that I might have a magic weapon with the body that's by the ghouls. Someone mentioned actually have it sticking out of the ghoul and kind of weakening it a bit, which is not at all a bad idea, I must say. Can't take credit for it. Well, I can, but I won't. What does it say about ghouls? Undead, hideous. Yeah. Victim. Right. Okay. So they just paralyze. Nasty to note about them paralyzing everybody before turning back, because that's just a recipe for disaster. I like they say this paralysis is of the normal type. Well, good to know then. The normal type of paralysis that's been given to you by an undead, bloodthirsty creature. Just that normal type. Okay. Well, we've got the so let's see. I will add another thing here. Three. That's. Oops. Oh, I forgot I can do that. Yeah, I know. I know. Words trying to be nice. Words trying to help me. The pits. Sometimes I feel like these software is trying to be too into the air. 15 feet deep. What was the just and dirt? Maybe a body in one of these. Another way to get some gear. Of course, you got to get down there to get it. But 15 feet's not that. That's pretty. I feel like that's pretty doable. Though the walls are smooth, I mean, we'd know good to have these pits if people could just climb out. So, still might need some assistance. Or maybe I should call those the. Yeah. There we go. And then the pit will be down here. Pit is here, and it's going to be closed. Closed. So yeah, closed with heavy wooden I don't know, what do you call it? Wooden doors? What would it be? What would you call that? For it's would that be a door? Is there another word for that? Like a hatch? Hatch doesn't seem like the right word. Okay, I'll put door. Hatch. Hey, Andre. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. What's the graphic software? This is Affinity Designer. Affinity Designer. It is not a dungeon editing app per se. It's just a general vector graphic software. I just created my own symbols and forward stuff and threw it in there. So it's analogous to something like Illustrator or Photoshop. It's by a company that's called Affinity. And the benefit over Photoshop or the Adobe stuff is it's not subscription. You pay for it, it's yours. You own it. But and then on this side, just Word. So I presume you're talking about. Yeah, you said graphics. So yeah, you're talking about this one. So yeah, Affinity Designer. which actually it's just I think it just yeah, they just updated. I haven't looked at it, but I got these notifications today for updating 2.5. So if you're an Affinity person, you might want to check and see. You might have some updates. And they do go on to the they're not expensive, but they also do tend to, or at least I've seen them. I think they just had a sale not that long ago. They kind of bundled things together and for sale and put them on sale. I mean, there's sometimes you can find bundled discounts. I don't know if one's running right now, but I would say they're definitely worth it. There's 3 apps at the moment. There's this, which is essentially like kind of an Illustrator type vector. It can do vector and raster graphics. They've got a photo editing app or a photo app, which I don't use very much, but it's always handy to have. And then they have a desktop publishing app, which would be basically a competitor to InDesign. And I think they're all worthwhile. They work together really great. Adobe's pretty slick, and then it's not the equal of Adobe and everything, but I think in terms of what you get and that you can get off the sort of subscription carousel, very much worth it. Inches, 20 feet deep. Actually, I don't need another bullet point. I can put it next to it. 20 feet deep. Ghoul in the bottom pit. A hacked apart body also in the pits. All right, so now we've got the pit, the pit, oubliettes, stairs. We got the staging area. The cells, More small cells. I wonder if would it be fun? Is it too much work, or would it be fun to have a random table for what body you find checking the cells? Sometimes I think that stuff's fun, but then other times I think it's not really worth. Instead of me having to roll on a table, like they could just tell me. It's not that big of a deal. Where do folks fall on that? Do they like some of those kind of extra randomization functions, or is it part of it? Or do you think, and I go back and forth myself on, you know what, just give me the thing. I don't need to, why are you making me roll on a table? I mean, that's why I felt, I think sometimes someone's like, look, you get 4 different things. Like, I'm only going to probably do this once, or maybe like, I don't need, and if I really need to change it, I'll just change it. So instead of having me roll on a table, just do extra work just to get around to a body in the cell. Cells, heavy chains. Let's see, heavy chains attached to walls. I guess that's really about it from there. So that's the well. We've got the body. We got the giant centipedes feeding on it. Maybe even just 1d2. Maybe 1d4 is too many. How many could be there anyway? So we got the cells. We got the spells. The stairs down, which is fine. To the storeroom, we have the stairs up. One thing that's kind of weird is that maybe I won't put the level names on there, because since you're starting off in the dungeon, I figure that should be the first thing that you see reading it is the dungeon. So then I don't want to put, because the storeroom's technically upstairs, put that first, but you're actually starting. So I'm actually going to put the storeroom down here. That way, trying to keep with kind of the flow of how you'd actually experience it. You're not going to start with the storeroom first, because that's not where you're starting. Right. So yeah, there's a bunch of barrels in here. I might roll for what's in the barrels. To do. Add a table of barrel contents. It's not going to be the barrel contents, or not going to be. Maybe I'll have something that there's something in the back of a barrel, or below one of the barrels. There's something like someone decided to hide, because I figure, the thing is with evil cultists and whatnot, I think evil people doing this kind of stuff, they're always hiding things from each other. Oh, I got this. I don't want to hand it over, because then I'm gonna, they're gonna give it to Bob, and I hate Bob, so I'm gonna keep it myself. Hey, Sapphire Ridge. Sapphire says barrel contains cider for the working adventure. Absolutely, there will definitely be an option. That will definitely be an option. I'm gonna say. Do I go 2d4 cultist zombies? Or I wonder how many should be up here. I definitely want more than one. This is where it's like, do I go to any dice and try to? I guess I can. Let's see. Let me get. Maybe I'll have to do that. Yeah, I have something else going on in any dice, and I don't want it to pull in my work. That's why I'm doing it. All right, so let's see. 1d6 plus 1, but I don't know if I want 7. Maybe 1d4 plus 1 will get me what I want. That might be good. Yeah, see, the one thing I like, I do like a little bit of that kind of peak. I don't want 7 or 8 zombies, I don't think. At least 2, maybe more. I think that's probably good. Let's see, what is this witchcraft website you talking about? Are you not familiar with any dice? Oh, any dice is a powerful weapon. You got to kind of learn. It's got its own little language, but it basically just gives you if you're interested, concerned about what your probabilities are, you can put different dice in. So, we know that 1d6, right? So we get our 16 point blah 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 blah. If we want to know what 1d20 is obviously 5%. If you want it, now you can get some really funky stuff, which I think I'm doing this right. Highest one of this should, if I did this correctly, give us advantage. Maybe it's brackets. I think maybe it's brackets. Sorry. There we go. So now just it is definitely life changing. I did find one quirk one time where the math wasn't quite right. It was on stream, I think. I couldn't figure it out because I did it, but as far as I know, other than that one quirk, and I couldn't even remember what it was or how exactly it was off, because I don't have. I mean, what any dice has been so great is because I'm not someone that knows a lot of the math for doing probabilities, apart from this very, 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 very simple stuff. But any dice really allows you to kind of get in there. Like I said, I found this one quirk where I don't remember what I was doing, but I was like, wait a minute, I don't think this is right. And I did the math individually. And like, no, it's not right. But any dice was giving me something slightly different. It wasn't really a huge deal, but it was weird because it was seemed to be wrong. I was like, oh my gosh, any dice is wrong. It's like, what's going on with the world? Stuff Eris says, maybe we get a tutorial for how to wrangle it someday. Man, I mean, I could show you what I know, but it would be like 5 minutes. Really, the key thing, everything is really, I mean, everything. I don't know. There's documentation, right? This is where you're gonna. I tend to muck around with this kind of things. Articles. This one I like. Not that I don't like it, but it gives you some more stuff. But it actually drops you kind of out of. Whereas if you're working on something and you're in that calculator, see, you come back to it. But yeah, it's really super, super handy. If you're ever, sometimes I'm looking at a book or something, or I'm just pondering something, I'm curious, you can just grab that, go to any dice, plug in, and you can do exploding, and you can write your own little functions to, maybe I could, that's part of what I didn't want to bring over because I didn't want to muck about with a function that I have. But I think I really was just, yeah, see here, I'll show you a function that I have in my other any dice. I think this is working okay. Just to explain you what's going on. Just a little bit more. So, all right, that's advantage, right? And you can also name them. 20 with advantage. Right, so you can calculate. There you go. Now which I think I just took from one of their things. So you can make these functions. So now I can tell you always have to put output. Well, you don't always, but I think to have put stuff. So, and I want, what is it? So it's like what test? I think was it 6 and I don't know. I think I'm doing. Can't remember what I'm doing. Let me see what. Is this maybe I hadn't even used this one because actually I'm not using it on my other end. I drew up or I put it in there. Does that? No, that's not right. One. Is that it? Test 6 and 1d6. There it is. Okay. Yeah. So so here's what it shows you the bell curve of dice combinations. Yeah, I mean, if we want to get technical about it, neither of these are bell curves, but yes, it will show you the different probabilities, and you can have it give it to you in different ways. So you can get something like you can have it in a tabular format, a graph. There's a die roller also. I don't ever use the die roller, but you can if you want to check it out. You want to roll it 6 times? Great. Bam. Got that. I'm 99.999% using this. So I don't this is I mean it looks like it. I'm not a statistician or anybody. So it looks like that would be it, right? It goes from 25%, 50% point, a half a percent each time, right? So you go from 20.25, 0.75 to 1.25. So yeah, it seems like it's increasing by half a percent to be what I'm getting there. Hey, don't use it. I have used it just rarely. And so then I think I put this one because I wanted to test different numbers. I think I can do something. Is it? I'm gonna forget. Like if I wanted to do, I think you could do that too, or is this gonna break? Nope. But this is where I think it's not quite right. Right? I don't think. Maybe this is where I found where it's an issue. I think that's not correct. It's not 30.56. Right? Output 1d6 greater than 4, which would be the same in this case. It's yeah, see this. I don't even know if this is the same error, but theoretically these two should be the same, and they're not. And I don't know why. if I do one of them, right? I think it's the same. 16.67. So then two of them on a D6 should be 16.67. All right. Bring out calculator. 16.67 plus 16.67. Right? They round it up, but it's really 33.33333333333, right? Whatever. Yeah. Get a refund from the free software. That should be right. It's more than I'm just curious, right? Like, I don't know, but then, and I think I wasn't even, and it's interesting because whatever this is, it's got to be kind of repeatable because I'm pretty sure that the way, whatever I was doing another way where I got the similar thing wasn't this. So it should be that then these should be, but it's not. Now it's not off a lot, but it's, statistically significant amount. It's from 31% almost to 30, it's 3 percentage points, something like that. So it's an oddity. It's an oddity that I have found. Don't know why. It's just interesting that if you do it in pieces, Any Dice has got it right, but then somehow doing it in this other thing, something happens wrongly. Not sure. Hey, Death Cap Stories. Yep, the percents matter. They do. They do indeed. Just a weird. So just something to be aware of. There might be an edge case where some of the I'm doing a simple, and this is kind of a compound thing. I'm presuming because I think I just copied this from their thing. Essentially, I'm just looking at the count, right? You go over the values, you loop through. Is the value the same as I do it? So it just count it from one. So this should be. I think it's fairly simple. I'm not doing anything crazy. So I'm not sure why it fails. Maybe at some point I'm gonna leave this here, and then I'll maybe I'll reach out and say, hey, just wise Jasper Flick, maker of Any Dice, can you riddle me this conundrum? There is some good. Well, yes, what you missed, Death Cap Stores. It's not. There is good documentation here, but that's actually not the problem. The problem is that Any Dice itself is giving me a wrong result, and it's demonstrably wrong, and it's just an oddity because if you, like I said, basically what I'm doing here is testing, right? Testing out, how many times in like 1d6 getting a 5, right? So if I test a 5 and a 6 in this, basically it's counting. So there's one chance is going to get here, one chance, right? Because the d6. So notice it gets these correctly. Chance of getting a 6 and a 6, 1 and 6. Chance of getting a 5 and a 6, 1 and 6. Chance of getting a 5 or 6. Somehow it should be 33.33. It should just be these two added up, but somehow it's different, and I don't know why. It's the roll that over. No, it's this one's correct. The roll over 4 is actually correct. That's what it should be. The incorrect one is when this other one where it's doing it a slightly different way, and I'm getting a different number. Now, maybe, like I said, I would have to reach out because I'm not a statistician, and I could very well, there could be something that's just silly wrong in what I'm doing. But no, it's because each one, remember, so it's a D6. So the chance of any one face coming up is 16.67. And you just add 16 when it's or, you can add them together. So it could be a 5 or 6. You just add these two together. So 16.67 plus 16.67, and you essentially get that. Whereas somehow it's reduced those, it's somehow lost percent points. I know. Where are the math magicians? Exactly. So it's not something that happens enough where I would just be, I'm not trying to tell anybody not to use it. It's just kind of funny that I remember that came up and I was able to reproduce it in a way. Certainly not a big deal. It is, and remains, and will continue to be an excellent tool. Okay. All right. I'm just putting a little capsule description here, by the way. This is not what would be considered final, but I'm just kind of getting out on paper, if you will, what's going to be in these rooms. So I think, yeah, we'll add a table of barrel contents. I think we decided 1d4 plus 1. 1 zombie cultist zombies. I get the man on the phone and iron it out. Get the red phone. Hello. Yep. Something like that. Wander aimlessly. Maybe they don't even wander. They're just waiting. Waiting to attack the first thing that stimulates their senses. I wonder if this would be a. How do you guys feel about the? Here's a question for you. How do you guys feel about the room, the area that's got something happening right when you get there? What would be an example of that? Like that there's a room in a dungeon that whenever the party gets there, they can hear an argument breaking out or a fight starts. But it's always, it starts when the party, it's that timing thing. Like when the party gets to that room, whenever that time may be, this thing, which is clearly like a dynamic encounter between two NPCs, is happening. Do you guys like it? Does it seem too like scripted? Cultist stacking barrels. Well, what I was going to actually do is have like, so the idea an idea I had, which I suppose could work because stuff's just been happening, is that there's cultists fighting zombies. Like there's literally a cultist on cultist violence up here. So that the party comes up the stairs. So maybe that, it doesn't totally make sense if there's a zombie here. Why? I probably have to work that out. Maybe in this area, in this half of the room, it hasn't triggered the zombie, so it's up here that it's not just some zombies, but there's cultists. There's some cultists fighting zombies. Death Cup Story says they don't like to spring stuff on players that they may have to react to given the info. I mean, this one, it's I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think it's like a little bit of a. How would I don't even know what I would term it. I mean, it's an idea because one of the things that this area does not have. We're looking at like, well, what would be the weaknesses of the setup? What would I expect somebody to, if they were going to review this, to tear into, besides all the obvious and not so obvious things they have to tear into? Would be that there's no, I mean, it's granted, this is a tiny little dungeon, but there's no faction play, right? There's no, I can, right? We're dealing with undead, and the good thing about undead, and also the bad thing about it, what makes undead kind of interesting, is the fact that at least on the level that we're talking about, these zombies and skeletons. Well, not gonna be skeletons, but ghouls. Is that there's no reasoning with them. They're implacable foes. So, I think something that I've certainly felt like is, heck, what do you do if you don't want to fight every single thing that moves? Now, my idea originally with this, and still is to a degree, is you don't have to fight the things. Like you have to you don't have to fight them. Like the zombie, if the zombie stays here in these stairs, you don't have to fight it. You could try to lure it out, trap it, whatever you want, right? Use these doors and kind of lure it out and then block it in this area. Like you don't have, right? You can be smart about it. You don't have, it's not something you have to fight it, but it's there. And you could use the fact that it's just kind of lunge after anything that moves or any loud noises. Maybe I should put a note. You're gonna have to deal with it. I don't have. I was gonna add a secret exit out of here. I don't have any loops, but you can just see how small this is. But we do have. So I would say, in my defense, in terms of not having loops, we have this big open area that is a looping, and then you get to leave here and go on a little mini hex crawl where you can loop about to your heart's content. The dungeon itself does not have a looping path just because it's so tiny. I mean, it does it? No, it doesn't. Well, it kind of does, only in the fact that if I put some extra exit here, you could technically have a loop, but it's not really. Window above the door. Window above the where? Which door? This door? Or you're talking about having a door here? Like, I'm maybe it's I don't know. I mean, I won't know until it's finished and other people tear into it. I'm sort of trying to. Oh, well, no, there's no. So sorry, Sapphire Ridge. It's not a zombie ambush. There are no the zombies. Well, there's one zombie in here that theoretically could ambush somebody if they're not paying. They're careful. This part up here would not be a zombie ambush. It would be that there would be an ongoing fight. That in this part of the room, that there would be some cultists that for whatever reason did not turn into zombies. So Sapphire, it's just so you're aware. So I'm gonna reset. Let me reset what's happening here, just so we're all on the same page. The players are gonna wake up on these tables, not know where they are or why they're there, but they're gonna hear sounds of chaos happening, and it's gonna be a little bit in that kind of 28 days later ish kind of vibe where you're in an area and like, well, I'm on a table alone, or not alone, but we're in this room, but now nobody else is in this room. This kind of, and I mean, I think 28 days later was very eerie because it's quiet. Here, it's not going to be that because they're going to hear noises, maybe a little bit from here, or at least dying down, whatever. And so it's going to be this little bit of exploration going on and things, and they're going to have to get their own equipment. They're going to have to figure that out or get equipment, not even their own. And there's at least the way it is now, there's a zombie that's hanging out in here who will react to somebody coming into the space, or maybe if they make a lot of noise, it'll come out kind of thing. But other than that, it's just kind of hanging out here. And then my original idea was in the storeroom, there'll also be some zombies. But then I was thinking it would be kind of cool, maybe in this part of this room, that there are a couple of cultists who are trapped. They're trying to get out this door because this is the way out. And they're trapped, and some of them have turned into zombies, and they're here, and they're kind of fighting them. And that way, it could give the player characters maybe some idea, concepts to talk to, do whatever, as opposed to just having there be wandering zombies in here, which was kind of my original plan. So I think I'm going to do that in the right, yeah, east end of the room. 4 + 1 cultist. Say 2 living cultists desperately, but so far unsuccessfully trying to fight their way past. And maybe I should just, maybe it can be a bigger number now. Yeah, maybe I can do 2d4 now or something. No, that's 24 plus 2. Who block the stairs to the surface. I'll just bold. So a little bit more dynamic. I don't know how many. I don't know. I always like. I mean, I could give this a number. I could just say 3, and maybe I will. I'll put in parentheses. That way, if you don't want to roll the dice, you can take a number. 3. Or I suppose technically it'll be, if I was going to really do it right, it'd be 4. So there we have the storeroom. We'll add barrel contents. Let's see, and I'll put along the walls. Let's see, on hooks nailed into the walls of the storeroom are various tools. I almost wonder, like, roll if searching for any specific tool, roll 1d6. Oh, I guess there is a 3 in 6 chance of finding one. Safford said the cultists could have improvised weapons to teach new players. Teach new players about improvised weaponry? I suppose, well, they could just have normal weapons. I mean, like, in improvised weapons is not that big of a thing, I don't feel like. Do they even have rules for improvised weapons? Not that I'm opposed to it. I'm certainly not. I just wonder if is that something that really comes up a lot? Does that come up a lot? I mean, you guys who are playing kind of old schooly or even non-old school games, is the improvised weapons that really come up very much, or is it really more that you just have weapons? I'm certainly not opposed to them learning that, oh, I can use anything as a weapon. I'm curious if they even have rules for it. Not that I couldn't obviously add in a rule if it does. I'm really just sort of curious. Say in the basic book, I don't even see where weapons are. Would it be under equipment? Must be, right? Equipment's on B12. Oh, Fluffy the Griffin says that they have a house rule that fighters have extra skills in improvised weapons. Cool. What kind of extra skills do you get from Fluffy? Sapphire Ridge says their players grab stuff all the time. Absolutely, but did they grab it so they can use them as weapons? Or they grab it because they don't know if they'll use it? I mean, that might be useful in a non-weapon way. Like, yeah, I mean, we often will grab anything that's not bolted down, but not because we want it as a potential improvised weapon, just because such things could be useful. Something can be useful somewhere. But I'm just gonna look and see because I'm curious if we get a improvised weapon note. It's not listed under weapons. Maybe it's under combat. Combat. Combat initiative. Damage. Yeah, that's true. Like, especially with D6 damage. Yeah, I don't think there's anything here for improvised weapons. I would probably just, I mean, I'm usually a D6 damage person, so I would usually just maybe give them a penalty on the hit roll, but the damage is the same. I mean, getting hit with a. Sorry, there's a helicopter distracting me. I usually feel like with the improvised weapons, it's not so much for the most part. I mean, yeah, you hit somebody with a wet noodle, not so much. But most things are can be. I mean, kind of like we looked at in the Hateful Place. If you watch the Hateful Place stream, the idea that basically anything is lethal has the ability to be lethal, and we talked about in that stream as an illustration of this in the movie The Chronicles of Riddick. Riddick kills a guy with basically a tin can, and then when the associate of the guy who he kills with the tin can seems to intimate that, well, that was just kind of a one trick sort of thing. He think he has the can opener, and he sort of indicates that, well, next person who tries something, I'll kill them with a can opener, and then they decide, okay, I don't want to test that out. Fluffy says that they have improvised weapons. Okay, their improvised weapons break in a 1 in 6 and deal 1d4 damage. With a fighter, it deals 1d6 and only breaks on 1 in 10. When it does break, it deals an extra d4. Adds a little fun. Oh, cool. Sapphire says tin cans bite. Oh yeah, because he sharpens it too. That's one of the things he does. The Chronicles of Riddick, I think, is really underrated as a movie and does. I should do kind of an appendix N on it because I think it does some really amazing things with the way it world builds in a very breezy way where you don't feel like, for the most part, it's got some cheese in it. And I wish that they'd done some different things with it. I mean, I wish ultimately they would have followed through with the original vision for whatever trilogy they wanted to do instead of whatever happened. But like Vin Diesel, I think he's got some issues. I think he wanted to push I don't know. I get the sense he wanted to maybe push the story in a different way. He definitely gives Riddick. I mean, it's like gosh, the sort of hero savior things that he just pours on Riddick, like it's too much. But if you look kind of past some of that, which I think is where a lot of the cheese comes from, you look past some of that, there's just some great things in the way they talk about it, and they really get you in this world. I love the stuff about these prison planets. They call them slams. I don't know if they're all planets, but prisons. Some of them, the planet's just known as for a prison, and all the lingo they just throw in there, but you kind of get it, and it just makes sense, and it just tells you all this awesome stuff or all the kind of stuff with the mercs. It's just great. It's great. It is when you can kind of get past. I feel like Vin Diesel trying to be like, I don't know, too much trying to be kind of superhero mode. Here's when Homer says Vin Diesel has 2 singles on Spotify and they're terrible. I don't doubt it. I would not go to Vin Diesel for hits. John B asked which book that I looked at. I looked at looking for improvised weapons. I just checked out the basic. So BX, the basic one, the red of the 2 books, Basic Expert, the red book of basic. I presume that OSC would be similar. I don't dislike. I'll just show Fluffy the Griffin's thing here on stream. Absolutely nothing wrong. The only thing I might do is I might just keep it with the D6, and I would just say that it breaks. I don't mind the breaking. I guess I would say that I like it that for other people it would break on a. I don't know, maybe it's too complicated. Part of me wants to think like I like the idea of giving the fighter some advantage, but I might just keep it to D. This is what I'm just thinking. Maybe keep it to D6 damage. If you're a fighter, you'll only break it if you roll a D6, and then you'll do an extra damage. If you're a non-fighter, you don't do an extra damage on a 6, and it breaks on a 1. That might be too complicated. Sapphire Rich says good lingo is essential world building, like a neuromancer. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I was just gonna say that it can be, when it's bad, it's really bad. And so when it's good and it feels natural, and if it's, if you're reading it, then if it comes across as natural in the way in being read, certainly if it's a spoken, visual medium, if the actor can say it in a way where it really just feels natural and organic and authentic, and it doesn't come, and it's hard to do. And something that I don't think Riddick got enough credit for was really building. And the video game they did was like Butcher Bay, Escape from Butcher Bay, or something in Butcher Bay, which is actually really good too. And it was, I'm not gonna say it was underrated because it was very highly rated back in the day. And it's another one of those things like, man, I wish that had amounted and gotten more. Heck, maybe it's been re-released somewhere because I'd even love to play it. But it's the story about how Riddick gets Riddick in this prison, this slam, Butcher Bay, and he gets his eye shine stuff, and you go through all the backstory of Riddick's really good. And they also have that where they're able to do it, but it just feels, maybe it's because the lingo they're using is not super complicated. Maybe it's because it's just, I mean, granted, it's sci-fi and stuff, but it has, I don't know, they just, whatever, it's just really good. And I just want to give them some props, and I should probably do a video on it at some point because I think they do a really good job with it. But yeah, it's lingo is good. Some people do it really well. I think David Mamet, just as a writer of dialogue, can really do that really well. I mean, he has a very, I don't know, idiosyncratic way of doing dialogue. I feel like, you hear Mamet dialogue, it sounds like Mamet dialogue. There's kind of but it also, he does a great job of working in that kind of stuff. But then other times it just goes very poorly and makes you wince, or it's just like, oh, that's like, ooh, ah. And honestly, I feel like a lot and to me, where I come in a lot, I mean, frankly, it's when I'm reading stuff, reading people's lore dumps on Reddit and things like. At least when I read them in my head, a lot of them I go, ooh, like. And I'm not saying it like I can do better. It's just no. It's like I don't know. It is an art or something, and it's like it's like at least for me, reading it in my head sometimes, like that doesn't sound good. Doesn't come off like ooh, I'm sure different people have ones for different. The Heroes of Homer says, wasn't there a Riddick animated movie? I know there was some animated stuff. I don't know if there's a whole movie, but maybe. I knew there were animated things. I remember there's an animated bit about the Mercs. I don't know if they did a whole animated movie. That might be the way to bring it back. Is bring it back as an animated movie. Just do Chronicles over again, and then do whatever the third part was. So here's one of the few words where I thought like this word doesn't work, and that was that there's I get where they were coming from. And this to me is like classic, what I feel like you would see in like 800 people's different Reddit posts on their lore. So there's a concept where these guys, they're called the necromongers. And that's a little bit like, ooh, a little bit kind of on the nose a little bit, but sure, whatever. And they seem to be kind of a death cult or a whole civilization that is run by a death cult or I guess a death cult civilization. And they talk about how the leaders of the necromongers, they go on some kind of journey. It's kind of, I don't want to say vague, but like you're not sure whether they're talking about a spiritual journey, but it seems like it's actually a physical journey. It's something going on. Anyway, they come back, and I guess if they come back, I presume they come back because the guy in the movie came back. They've got some like he's also kind of super powered. He's gained some kind of abilities that the other ones don't have, right? The other people are kind of regular, though they've been drugged. Something's been done to them. They've had some kind of operation done to them, but they're human. They're not. They're kind of. It seems like some life's been drained of them. Something's going on because they're all pale and they're all, sunken eyes a little bit, and something's gone on. But physically, it feels like they're basically they're human, or they're not all from Earth, or I don't even know if any of them are. This is all in space, so whatever. They're humanoid, whatever. Whereas the lead guy, Necromonger Prime, is clearly got other things in his toolkit. But they call the area, this thing, like this underworld, right? So if you think about, if we were talking ancient Greece and we were on Earth, saying, oh, we got to go down, Orpheus has got to go down to the underworld. Okay, got it. So now what are they doing in space? They're going to the underverse. And it just, I don't like it. I love the movie. I mean, minus the Riddick self-aggrandizement stuff, but the underverse, and then they even will say it like there's another verse. It's like nobody says that. Nobody says like the universe and there's another verse. Like it, and the kind of no, please, no. I don't know what you would call it. I don't have a better name. I'm always someone's like, well, what would I do with it? I don't know. I'd need to mull it over. I don't know. It's kind of like, well, where is it? Is it supposed to be another universe, like another plane? Like they don't get enough into it to get to the point where they explain. Because I think that's also where they're theoretically going. They're going to take everybody there, do something there, and they don't ever explain what it is. Is it like a nebula? Is it another galaxy? Is it literally like another dimension of our? I don't know. So I would have probably tried to drill down a little bit on that. Maybe I would find another name. And granted, I'm not like I'm some award-winning writer, but man, Underverse. That's when you hear it and you just go like, ooh, kind of pulls you out a little bit. Like, I don't know. Sapphire Rich says Necromonger is OGL skirting death dealers. A little bit, right? It definitely sounds kind of similar. Sapphire Rich says Lord needs to appear suddenly and leave again as fast as it showed up, like sprinkled lingo. I don't know if it needs to leave, but I feel like there needs to be sort of if you want the party to interact with it, you need to make it something that's worth their trouble interacting in. I think too many people seem to get caught up in the idea that the players should be interested in it because they spent the time doing it. Like I get it. Like I put effort into this. I made this dinner for you. The least you can do is, and that's just not a healthy way to go about it. And let's face it, and I'm not trying to exclude myself from this. Most of our lore is not good. That's why I always when that's the other thing, I always cringe when I see people saying like, I've written all kinds of stories. I have an MFA in creative writing, and now I'm gonna be a dungeon master. And it's like, like that's not what it's about, at least to me anyway. And no offense, but I guarantee you, whatever your grand story that you've spent your MFA writing, it's gonna suck. Because they almost always do. They suck. And I'm not sure why it is. I don't care. It's gonna suck. The best part of the story is the stuff that the players do, probably that break the original story. That's the best stuff. Um, you know. All right, what have I got left? He says lore is useless if it doesn't pertain to the adventure's activities. Yeah, I've been trying to think about this. There should be another word. I think actually for something else that I'm working on, I was trying to think about what could be the other word for. So I'd love to be able to separate the information, let's say, into two camps. One, which is essentially, I don't want to call it flavor because I don't want to say it's useless. Flavor text, it's fluff. I don't, I've used that word in the past. I don't really love it because it doesn't really communicate the idea. It's optional information. Not that it's nothing, not that it's just throw it in the trash, put it in the garbage chute, but it's kind of just optional. It's sort of nice, but it's not stuff that actually has practical use. So, what would be the word for a practical use? Sapphire says actionable information. That's a good phrase. Can we get that down to a word that's maybe not quite so jargony, engineering sounded? Fluff, fluff, and gluff. If I had to make my little animated educational picture, I'd say, "Hey, look, let's go talk to Fluff and Gruff about actionable information." Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's kind of like one way of saying like intelligence. Like you go to get intelligence information. I don't know. I'm wondering, and plus, I'm wondering at least from a fantasy perspective, is there something a word that seems more romantic than actionable information? But yeah, that's basically the gist of it. I haven't come up with a word myself. If you think of one, if anybody out there thinks of one, send it to me. Send it my way. All right, so we got the storeroom, and then we do have to the surface. Is Gluff the good kind, or so first I need to know, is Gluff the lore that you want? Or is Gluff the uh optional information? I'm not quite sure. Gluff versus Fluff. So Gluff is the knowledge we want. Fluff, yeah. I got you. The Great Hall. The Great Hall. Gluff is ogre fingers versus a phone keyboard. Yeah. Well, I don't even have a phone. We're using a real keyboard, and I'm still having that. The Good Fluff. Oh man, didn't they make a TV series, The Good Fluff, or a movie? Whoops. Oh, I hadn't saved it. Yeah, save it. I almost lost a bunch. I did lose some work on this earlier where Affinity crashed on me. So save your work often. I was just finishing putting all these little blocks in here for the crenellations, and then it crashed. Thankfully, it had a recovery file that had, it basically had 3 sides done. I just had to redo the 4th side. But man, I was about to puke thinking I had lost. Yeah, the Good Place. There's the Good Wife. Yep, yep, yep. Body's on the floor behind a. Oh no. Actually, into the. Well, yeah. I'll just leave it that way. I mean, coming in here, settlement to the south. Yes. Bodies on the floor. Stairs, and then I don't know what to the yard, I guess. Heavy wooden double doors, closed but unbarred. Okay. Okay. What are we doing on time? Got a little bit of time left. And now to the second level. What header is that? What did you guys? Here's a question for you. Another question for you. I don't know if that I'm that great at estimating. Whoops. Wait, this is header. Heading. Oh, you know what? I might need to change these. I was gonna say insight. What's well, I'm looking for insight from you. I'm trying to decide. You know what? So one of my questions is, I feel like, and maybe there's just nothing to be done about it. Is how long I think this will take. Trying to estimate some kind of length of time, and I think there's no. I mean, obviously, there's never going to be an exact until you start running it, especially. It'd only be estimation. Um, I'm curious because it's just not. There's very. So So I think my gamble or the gamble. I guess the. What am I doing? The question is, does the puzzle of the place, what to do, and being that you're not going to start off being all armored up, is that going to make up for the fact in terms of time, not in terms of enjoyment or challenge, just in terms of time, for the fact that this whole fort is only, if we were going to split up into, if I was literally just going to dial these in the rooms, it's only like 12, or I think I counted it before, 12. I think that's including the stairs, 13, maybe something like that. It's a very small space. I mean, that's, gosh, what is one level? We had the, let me see, do I still have the moat house map up? The moat house has, looks like 17 areas, not including, I think they're giant. Oh, I guess it is included. The giant toads are included. So I guess maybe I'm actually not that, though. These are all kind of discrete areas, and mine are maybe not that. I guess maybe that's not too bad, right? If you've played the Moat House, I don't think RPG Grandma's in here because she might know. How long did the Moat House take? Question. Sapphire says 13 is the ideal spread for doing good ratio of empty monster treasure, monster trick trap special. Yeah, I don't have any. Well, let's see. I do not have any trick traps. I mean, I guess maybe this one, but this is not a trick or a trap. I mean, I suppose some of them are kind of puzzly, but I wouldn't necessarily call them trick traps. This is basically empty. This is empty. Oh, these two are empty. Traps can be used against the cultists. Great fun potential. Yeah, if they could rig it, if they could rig something together, they absolutely could. But there's not like a built-in trap because this isn't this isn't a conventional dungeon in the sense of this is not a mythic underworld place. This is a lair kind of spot, right? This is the cultist lair, and they're escaping from it. And the cultists are not expecting people to be escaping from it, and they wouldn't have, right? If the chaos hadn't broken up, with the chaos being that whatever ritual they were trying to do went horribly wrong and turned cultists into zombies and just put this place into craziness, it would have been fine for them. Like this is, the error does not lay on the fact that they didn't have. So I'm going with this sort of idea that they're not just trapping their own stuff just because. There's no reason for them to trap the storeroom. There's no reason for really them to trap the dungeon because these cells work, and they just put them in you. They just put you in there and close the doors. The party is out here because they were preparing them to do something nasty, and then got something happen while they're in preparations. These oubliettes, these pits are deep enough. It's fine. Like this is for the ghoul. It's fine. So I'm there'd be no reason for them to trap this. So other than me putting in a trap for kind of haha, or I suppose if I wanted to say that the people who lived here before left this trap and it was just sitting there, like there's no reason. So I'm part of my thinking for not having a trap here is I just don't see the reason for it. Now the chest will be trapped. There will be a trap on the chest because as you are the head or at least local head of some evil cultists. Someone's going to try to get in. You imagine, even if nobody tries, you imagine that somebody will attempt to get in your chest. So it makes sense to lock it and trap it. This door here, because I'm going to put somebody back here. There's going to be a prisoner back here, kind of a VIP prisoner who they could potentially rescue. This will be locked. So there'll be that, not really a trap. But I'm not having like, here's a pit trap. I mean, the pits are open. So it's not a trap. I mean, they could be pushed in it. They could push a cultist in it. They could push a zombie in it, but it's not a trap in the sense it's not hidden and then springing into action at their feet. So maybe actually my number is not too terrible. I should pull out Hamlet again just to get a vibe for what their how much stuff they're putting in. And the flip side is there's not a lot of treasure here, but they should be able to, I say should be able to get some equipment. And then there's going to be a treasure map fragment that will give them a sense of the area and then also maybe lead them down to this. I think maybe this hex is a good one to lead them into. Try to dig it up. And maybe even it'll also have a little bit of information about this is kind of their destination. It's like a little bit of that. Another version of this map is going to appear in the tapestry. In the tapestry that's in here, an old one, whatever. Or maybe it's painted on the wall. So that'll be something they can do. Get some information. Sapphire says cultist robes are one sweatshop away from being marketable bedrolls. Heck yeah. Craft economy incoming. Absolutely. And they'll be able to get some, and they'll be able to get some things like that in here. There'll be some things in here and in here. They're going to have some options. But it does kind of, but this place, again, like the puzzle in the place is going to be, what does the party prioritize? They can prioritize just running away. We're just gonna get out. That's fair enough. Yeah, you can absolutely. You're gonna. I guess in a sense, if you're scoring it, if you just run away and run down the trail, just outrun everybody and get away, you will absolutely succeed. You'll be destitute, and there'll be opportunities maybe in the middle of the way. So, but yeah, you'll escape. Right, that's the main thing. You can be really thoughtful and do more. As someone mentioned, maybe you could even clear out this place and it could be your initial fort. I mean, somewhere to live if you wanted to. You could absolutely go that way of doing it. Like I said, there's the VIP who's going to be up here. If you can get the VIP here, then there'll be some extra in it for you. Maybe some treasure, a reward, blah, blah, blah. Sapphire says, "What do you do if a party flees without any treasure and starts the next session trapped for cash?" I mean, they're trapped. I mean, me personally, you're trapped for cash. You're strapped. That's it. I mean, no guts, no glory, kind of thing. To be honest, I imagine. So let's just look at this scenario. And who's to say, right, with a party? But they're gonna escape down here. Let's just assume that they get to town, the village, the castle. This is a village. They're going to, and my conception of villages is that this is not like a town. There's no like adventurers shop and there's no like guild of whatever. It's like, no, that's the town. This is a village. You're gonna have to go to the castle, the lord. You're gonna have to visit the lord, and presumably you're there. You're broke, whatever. I would certainly. I suppose you could roll if depending on how you wanted to play this lord out. Are they nice? Are they not nice? Whatever. You could probably make it known to them what you've discovered. I mean, I assume your one bargaining, if you just escape with your lives and the clothes on your back and you get down there, the one bargaining chip you have is you have information. So I guess that's the one reward you will have. You will have information. You will know more or less the location of this fort and you'll know more or less what's going on in the fort. You have those two things. You will need to bargain those two things. And for new players, if they were looking around saying, I don't know what to do, whatever, that's what I would say. Is like, hey, you guys are gonna have to, you guys ran out of there. I totally get it. That's fine. But you have to keep in mind, right? Wait, that you did get, you feel like you came out with nothing. You didn't. You came out with information. That information can be useful, but you have to figure out how to market and sell that information. There's only one player in town. Not in town. There's only one player that's going to be open to that information. That's the Lord. So you get audience with the Lord, which I would probably give. I'm sure he'd want to hear about it. Interested anyway. And the other thing is, the idea would be that the VIP is related to that local Lord, and that they know that they're kidnapped. But this is a little bit of leverage that the cult has had on keeping them from clearing them out. Is the fact they have this hostage. So then, if you come back here, oh Lord, you won't believe what's happened. We woke up when this is happening, but thankfully there's something gone wrong and we were able to escape with our lives, but just barely. And but we know where we have an idea. They could have maybe they have one of the robes, a cultist robe, something to more identify. Like we know a little bit about them, or at least whatever. At minimum, we know where they live. We know where they are. Then I think at that point, me as a GM's going, great. You guys know where they are. You're gonna go you're gonna go rescue my daughter, nephew, niece, whomever. Like that's would be the next step. And then depending on how you wanted to play that, could be on how you want to divvy up, like, if they bargain for resources or what are they gonna get? Like, you can have fun with all that stuff. Sapphire Ridge. Fun to Heroic West. You will get the VIP. We've seen them. Lie. Yeah. You didn't see them, but we heard them. But yeah, I would totally look. If I was in that situation, I would lie also. Oh yes, my lord, we saw them from the highest window in the fort, but we'll get them back. Or they were below us in the lowest dungeon. We could hear them whimpering. Totally would. So you've got some options. you got some, and I'll probably should make a note of that. Like, hey, further adventures, like if they come up empty, if they come into town with no money in their pocket, the Lord will give them a meal and an overnight, if only just to kind of get out of them what's happened. And then, assuming that they tell the truth and just come clean, and why wouldn't you? You got no other cards to play, then the Lord will send them back, and then you can kind of run it in reverse almost, and you can play around with what happened. Maybe the place is full of undead. Maybe they get there and the VIP has since been, you know, chewed up and someone got in and ate them or made them undead. Like, you can have fun with all kinds of permutations of what's happened. Certainly, especially if the party slow foots it, right? Oh, well, we should gather our strength before we go back. So let's have a few days so we can all get back up to full health and stuff. And it's like, well, what's happening during that time? Eventually, she's gonna yell, or he or whoever it is, the VIP is gonna make some noise, something attract attention, and then classic monster movie style, they scratch, they just gang up on the door, enough of them bang up, door comes off, falls, breaks, whatever, and then munchy. So you could really have a lot of fun with that kind of scenario, even if it goes bad. Versus they'll have her kidneys out by sunrise, could be. So lots of fun. But yeah, I wouldn't let them off the hook. I mean, you can make the argument that I am letting them off the hook by giving them another chance, but I'm playing within kind of what's happening, and you could obviously, have fun. But they do, like, even escaping with nothing, there is one thing that they have, and that's information. So I would let them use it. Let them use it. Send them back in, and then have fun with whatever's changed, however long it takes them to get back there. All right. Well, I got to get ready for it's game night. I get to play in this game. So I got to start getting ready for that. I'm heading out to Studio B for the weekend, but I should stream tomorrow. It might be earlier in the day than normal, but we'll see about that. Sapphire Ridge says tactical retreat, strategic regroup, mountain assault from position of strength. Absolutely. Just, keep in mind the time is ticking. And if all the cultists have succumbed, there's nobody to feed her. And I imagine at some point the undead will converge on her location. So yeah, all that stuff is great. Just don't take too long. Father Time is undefeated in both sports and in Dungeons and Dragons. And with that said, folks, have a great rest of your day, night. If I happen not to talk to you tomorrow, have a great long weekend. It's a long weekend here for most folks in the US of A, and otherwise have a great weekend of whatever length you have. Sapphire says, Princess Kidney VIP, thank you for a great stream. You're very welcome. I'll take it. Game on, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye now.